We should hype Via Ferrata because it is a full body workout. It is amazing. Via Ferrata should remain or should become a tourist attraction that everyone could enjoy. You see, I'm right away clipping to the next in case I lose control to be able. Thank you for watching. This should be the best beginner Via Ferrata tutorial out there. Follow me to see exactly how it is done one by one. We'll start climbing and I will start explaining. I will show to you how it works. I will speak about fall factor, the dead zone, and I will explain what it is. The first moment when you should do the anchor point transition. I will show you the anchor point transition step by step and I will make it even clearer. I will explain you, for example, arm hook and elbow lock. This might save you on a Via Ferrata. This is the most comprehensive Via Ferrata tutorial you'll ever get to see on internet. It starts with a minute and a half around their introduction. You should watch it because it is enriching, and then we move to gearing up. Once we do that, we straightforward move to explaining the basic safety equipment, and from there to climb a straight vertical and show you one by one the foundation of Via Ferrata progression. After that, we keep going higher and higher, and one by one, you'll learn techniques, dangers, good to know things, and best practices on Via Ferrata. Have you ever heard about Via Ferrata? Today, I will teach you what Via Ferrata is, how to gear up for Via Ferrata, and then how to climb safely Via Ferrata. I will also introduce you to the big dangers of Via Ferrata. One of them is falling. On Via Ferrata, never ever should you fall. Never ever. On Via Ferrata, falling is a no-no. If you fall, I don't know what to say. You might get into very big trouble or even die. Via Ferrata remains an extreme sport. You have to understand that. Yes, it gives you access to parts of a mountain otherwise impossible to experience, but remember, it is an extreme sport. Via Ferrata, you do it on your own liability, your own responsibility. What I will do is, we'll start climbing and I will show you how to advance on Via Ferrata. I will have this 360 camera. It will stay to my right, outside, a tad far away, for you to see exactly how I'm moving and what I'm doing. Via Ferrata started as a necessity during the World War, and now it became a tourist attraction. Via Ferrata comes from the Italian Via Ferrata. Via means road, street, path, and Ferrata means of metal. Via Ferrata means the path of metal or the path of iron. First things first, we start with a sitting harness. This gets installed on our body. It is how we connect through the Via Ferrata set to the safety steel cable of a Via Ferrata. Let's see how to fit on a sitting harness. I have leg loops here. These two are the leg loops, and then this goes around my hips. I put one leg through one leg loop, and then the other leg through the other leg loop. As you can see it? Let me go up like this. You see, I have one leg loop here and another leg loop here. This is the belay loop. This is the tie-in point of the harness, and then this part will now go around my hips. As I many times told you, the way you test if a harness is properly fixed is ideally it goes like this. They go together here. If they can overlap a tad, not a problem. Not an issue if it stays like this, not necessarily an issue, but ideally not more than this. And the test you make is you put your hand here, you close your fist, rotate a bit and try to take it out. And I'm trying, it doesn't go, so it is fixed properly. Now, for the moment I leave it like this because I'm not climbing, I'm just getting myself ready. The next thing that I will do is to put the Via Ferrata set. This is the Via Ferrata set that I'm using. Remember, a Via Ferrata set has a loop here. This loop gets connected to the belay loop. This is the belay loop of your sitting harness. Let's clarify the loop that goes to your belay loop. To make it clear, The belay loop is this one here. It holds these two loops. These are the tie-in loops. This and these two are the tie-in loops. This here, like this is the belay loop. This loop here goes through the belay loop like this. This loop here of the Via Ferrata set gets connected like this. You put it like this through the belay loop of the sitting harness. You put like this the elasticated lanyards. You cross this thing here. This is a shock absorber. I will tell you in a moment. And here is the knot. This is how the knot looks like. Now we have, as I told you, this loop here that connects to the belay loop of your harness. Then you have this thing here. This is a shock absorber. It has here a lanyard practically. It is just a lanyard. It is stitched. When you fall, the stitches are breaking. Let's clarify the shock absorber in the sense of you getting familiar with what a shock absorber means and looks like. This is a shock absorber. This is how it looks like inside this pouch. This pouch is empty now. This loop here is on this side. The other side of a shock absorber, which is this part here, is on this side, and they both are stitched together. Can you make sense on how they are stitched together? When you fall on Via Ferrata, this is connected to your body, and this, the left, this is connected to the safety steel cable. When you fall, your body tries to go down on the Via Ferrata, and this stays connected to the Via Ferrata. It breaks there, wherever the carabiners are stopping when they reach the end of their fall, of their traveling. And the moment you break, there is a lot of force, and that force will try to separate these stitches here. The moment you do that, this is what will happen with massive force, and the stitches that put together these lanyards here, it is just one lanyard in here. At the end of it, you can see it is just one lanyard. It is a long lanyard like this, done in half, like this, stitched together, and one side goes to this loop, the other side goes to the lanyards, the elasticated lanyards of the Via Ferrata set, and then the carabiners. When you break on Via Ferrata, when you fall, and then you break, you stop, then that force propagates. When it propagates, the first ones, ideally, giving up are the stitches from here, putting this lanyard in half together. And one by one, the stitches are breaking. When they break, they absorb that shock. And this is what makes this lanyard, which is just a lanyard, into stitched. This is what makes it a shock absorber. You have this, they call it a rest loop. This is how they call this loop here. This is a rest loop. In my case, I have a swivel. Usually don't have this, but I have it in my case. And this is what makes this Via Ferrata set expensive. These two are the elasticated lanyards of the Via Ferrata set. And then these are the carabiners. There are different types. These are the top of the line for this brand here. This is Camp Kinetic Rewind Giro Pro. I think this is the name of it fully. You should have from 40 kilograms to 120 kilograms of weight to be able to use this. This is a Via Ferrata set, and now the Via Ferrata set is connected to my sitting harness. This is the minimum from the basic safety system for climbing Via Ferrata. The sitting harness and the Via Ferrata set. This is the bare minimum, the minimum. Without these two, you should never go on Via Ferrata. Now, the full basic safety system for climbing Via Ferrata is made of sitting harness, Via Ferrata set, and the helmet. This is the helmet. You always close it like this. I have to put the sunscreen, hence I will not yet put the helmet on. When I approach, when I exit, when I climb Via Ferrata, helmet stays on because you never know what might happen. For Via Ferrata, and I will do it now, this is my resting system. It is a Y-shaped lanyard. Ypsilon is the name of it, comes from climbing technology. This is not part of a basic safety system for climbing Via Ferrata. This is something that I invented for myself. This is not for climbing Via Ferrata. This is for resting on Via Ferrata. This is not safety equipment. When it comes to Via Ferrata, this is an accessory. I clip this as well. It has an interesting way of clipping. I don't know if you can see it. It has this lanyard here. Same type of knot. And with this, I'm ready. Now I have everything I need to be able to climb this Via Ferrata. This is an easy Via Ferrata for me. It's a level C. I go without any worries. I will put the shoes. I use approach shoes. My shoes are La Sportiva TX4. They are below ankle shoes because on Via Ferrata it gives you more flexibility, but you can go above ankle as well. They have a version above the ankle as well. You can buy whatever might work for you. It can be from Decathlon as well. How do you do it? This is the safety steel cable. Do you see this cable here? This is the safety steel cable. Every time I'm speaking safety steel cable, it is this one here. This here is an anchor. This anchor, as you can see, goes into the wall. This is how the safety steel cable, this one, is fixed to the wall, to the mountain, through this anchor. In here, you see, you have these things that clip the safety steel cable. This is the safety steel cable to the anchor. This is the anchor here. On Via Ferrata, this is how you travel. You will always have this to here connected. But then you get here and you cannot cross. It is why you have two, because the idea on Via Ferrata is you get here. This is the anchor point, this junction here. I call it anchor point. So when I'm saying safety steel cable, it is this one. When I'm saying anchor, it is this one. When I'm saying anchor point, it is this one here, this whole mix here, this whole point. Anchor point, anchor, safety steel cable. What I call it anchor point transition is you get here with the carabiners and now you have to go above because you are climbing. You keep going up on the Via Ferrata and you have to do the transition. From here, you have to go here above it. How do you do that? It is why you have to, because on Via Ferrata, the idea is you should always be connected. I will show it to you in a moment, step by step. I will explain it even better, even more. Stay with me. On Via Ferrata, you have to always be connected to this safety steel cable. To do that, you need two carabiners, two lanyards like this. This is the Via Ferrata set. I will explain that in a moment. Why? Because the moment you disconnect one, if you only have one, you are disconnected totally and you can fall and die. But now this remained connected here. While I'm doing anchor point transition, what anchor point transition means? I'm here and I'm transitioning from here above it. And this is the transition. A total transition is, I'm disconnecting this now and putting it here. This is the total anchor point transition. I never say total anchor point transition. I'm saying anchor point transition, which means I'm going from below, above, or from left to right, from right to left, or from above to below. It might be that I'm descending and I have to go from above to below. These are some terms you have to get yourself familiar with because you will always hear me saying them. Anchor, safety steel cable, anchor point transition, carabiners, these two are the carabiners, elasticated lanyards, this is the elasticated lanyard. It is two of them, as you can see. Then you have the Via Ferrata set. This ensemble of carabiners, elasticated lanyards, then this loop here, you have a loop here, and then this thing here, it is black or green or blue, whatever color, and then this loop here, this whole thing, it is called Via Ferrata Set. When you hear Via Ferrata Set, it doesn't mean everything you need to climb Via Ferrata. No, it is just the device that helps you to stay safe on Via Ferrata. When you fall, for example here, if we fall, you see this anchor here, and then we have another one there. If we fall from there, from above, this is when we'll stop. This is a distance that we travel. This builds force. We call that fall factor. We know that our body can take up to a fall factor of 2. More than 2 might break you, might break the safety system, is dangerous. It is why I'm saying falling on Via Ferrata, it is a no, no, never. For Via Ferrata to absorb, to dissipate, to take away that force, they created this shock absorber, this one here. And what happens here is when the force is high enough, the stitches will break, and that breaking the stitches, it is gradual based on how much the force is. They absorb the shock. What this means is the shock doesn't go into the safety systems, the probability of that breaking and you dropping to the ground decreases. It's not total, it decreases. It's not total because maybe your equipment is old and might break because it is enough force to break it, so it's not total. But it takes away a lot of force, it absorbs a lot of force. Some force no longer gets passed to the safety system and some force is no longer passed to your body. You will still get the force, the pain, the injury. It will still happen. It depends on how much you fall, for how long and so forth. The trauma will still be there, but not that bad as without the shock absorber. This here, it is called a belay loop. The belay loop puts together the tie-in loops. This is the loop of the leg loops. These are the leg loops here. And then this is the loop of the around your waist harness. This is the sitting harness. Together it is called sitting harness. We connect the Via Ferrata set to the belay loop, not the tie-in loops of the sitting harness. I have this blue thing here. This might get you confused because it has two arms as well. This is not a Via Ferrata set. It doesn't have a shock absorber. If you fall into this, most probably you'll die. So no, don't mistake this as a Via Ferrata set. There is no shock absorber into it. This is not a Via Ferrata set. This, I call it a resting system. This is what I call it. This to me is a resting system. A resting system can be anything. Ignore this lanyard here. And you see I only have one now. And the resting system, the purpose of it is exactly like now, to leverage it to rest. I'm resting now. I put my whole weight into the sitting harness that then stretches the lanyard here that is connected with a carabiner. It is still a Via Ferrata rated carabiner. The confusion can be large because I use all the elements you have in a Via Ferrata set, so you have to be very careful. This here, it is static, is not a Via Ferrata set. This here, it is dynamic, and it is a Via Ferrata set because it has a shock absorber, this one here, and two arms. Two arms plus a shock absorber makes a device, a Via Ferrata set. You should always use on Via Ferrata a Via Ferrata set. I have a helmet, always. When I'm approaching, when I'm climbing, and when I'm exiting. If I lose control and hit with my head a rock, I'm protecting. If rocks fall, I'm protected. And the problem with Via Ferrata, when you fall, is not like in rock climbing where you fall in a certain way. In here, it is very hard to control the fall, and then you might hit the rungs. Many times on Via Ferrata, you will hear me saying rungs. This is a rung. About the helmet, always clipped like this, always. Not like this. This is not right. This is wrong. Your helmet should always be closed like this, the clip here. You see that I have gloves. There is three types of gloves. Full finger, half finger, this is half finger. And then on some gloves, you might have full finger here, these three fingers, and then these are half finger. These are the three types of gloves for Via Ferrata. My advice to you, always take the best quality because you need your hands to climb. Leather gloves, best quality. In the backpack here, I have the first aid kit and a second Via Ferrata set. I told you, on Via Ferrata falling is a no-no. If you fall, the shock absorber deploys. Once that one deploys, you can no longer use it. You can no longer rely on the Via Ferrata set. You need to replace it. Hence, in the backpack, I have a second Via Ferrata set, and this is my first aid kit. I've told you the terminology, the names: safety steel cable, anchor, anchor point transition, helmet, sitting harness, Via Ferrata set, elasticated lanyards, carabiners. When I say carabiner, is the carabiners of these two elasticated arms here. When I speak about other carabiners, I might say the carabiner of a resting system or a Via Ferrata rated carabiner. So when I say carabiner, is the carabiners of these two elasticated arms here. We will now start climbing, and what I will do is I will show you how to advance on Via Ferrata, and I will re-explain everything step by step. I will have this 360 camera. It will stay to my right, outside, a tad far away, for you to see exactly how I'm moving and what I'm doing. Before I do that, on Via Ferrata, when you clip your carabiners, can you spot here what's happening? This carabiner looks upside to this carabiner. What this means? This is them looking upside to each other. This is how they look upside to each other. The idea is when you do this, they might load differently. One might break, the other one might hold you. Then also it is impossible for you to accidentally disconnect both of them. On Via Ferrata, you should never do this. So right now I'm no longer connected because both are disconnected. This is dangerous. You can die. Right now you can die. If you lose control and the drop, you'll drop to the ground because you disconnected both. You might think, oh, I'm here. I'm getting ready to do the anchor point transition. I should disconnect both at the same time. You see, I have both disconnected. Yes, I'm no longer connected to the wall. And then transition. This will kill you. You should never do this because this is killing you. Never do this. To avoid this type of mistake, which is common, it can happen. You might open one, the other one opens accidentally. You have them in reverse. Being in reverse, facing each other, it's impossible to unclip both. You cannot. So this forces you to transition one and then transition the second. Here you have it. This will protect you. You should always clip them in opposite direction, not in the same direction. We'll start climbing and I will start explaining. I will show to you how it works. I will speak about fall factor, the dead zone, and I will explain what it is. The first moment when you should do the anchor point transition. I will show you the anchor point transition step by step and I will make it even clearer. I will explain you, for example, arm hook and elbow lock. This might save you on a Via Ferrata because it helps store energy for the resting position. When I'm saying resting position, it means 3 stability points that you have to create before you do the anchor point transition. Why 3 and not 4? Because you have 2 legs, 2 hands. Because with one hand you have to do the anchor point transition. Remember this, always you do the anchor point transition with the same hand. If you start with your right, that transition, you complete with the right. If you start the transition with your left, you complete with the left. Thank you for watching. Now let's start climbing and follow me to see exactly how it is done one by one. This is how you start the Via Ferrata. The first thing you should always do is to test the system to make sure it holds you, it is properly clipped. I put the carabiners in the right direction and I am starting the climb. In here, the moment I can reach with my hand the anchor here, this is when I do the transition. The moment I can touch the anchor, I do the transition. If I go like this higher, now I'm exposing myself to danger because if I fall now, the distance me falling is more than before. It is an unnecessary risk that I'm taking. If I go more, and I've seen many doing this, if I go more, you see, now I'm way above this. The distance I will fall is even longer, higher, and this increases the fall factor. Again, I'm exposing myself unnecessarily to danger. Usually people do the anchor point transition here at this point, but this is wrong. What you should do is, the moment you got here, you execute the anchor point transition. How do you do that? First of all, you see, I can sit with this arm, not grabbing anything, including the safety steel cable. I sit and I'm secure, nothing happens to me. I have one leg, the second leg, and in here, the arm. So these are the 3 resting points. You should always have 3 resting points when doing the anchor point transition. Why? Something might happen. A rock might dislocate from below one of your legs, and if that happens, if you don't properly use your hand, now you are falling. There is nothing to catch you. If your hand, the rock or the rung here, will dislocate or something happens, it slips, a cramp, a snake bites you, you never know. Then the legs will hold you. You see, I have both arms disconnected, the legs are holding, so I know I have control. This is when I do the anchor point transition. What do I do? With one hand, if I start with the right, I complete with the right. So with one hand, always the same hand for that session, for that anchor point transition. I'm coming here and I disconnect one. Let me take my leg away and do it back again. The carabiners are there, down. I can touch with my hand. So now I'm ready to do the anchor point transition because I'm in a stable resting position. What I do is I go here, drag this up, and I disconnect this carabiner. You see, this is the advantage of the Via Ferrata set. If I fall now, the Via Ferrata set will still catch me. I'm not falling to the ground to die because that carabiner, through this elasticated arm, through the rest of the Via Ferrata set and the sitting harness is connected to my body. So I'm still connected. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting it above the anchor point. So I put this above and I test it. It's properly clipped. This is tensioned because it's the length of my arm. It is normal for this to be under tension. And the second thing I'm doing is I'm disconnecting now this other one, but you see now who's catching me is the one I put above, right? And as I told you, look, I'm letting myself free, and the Via Ferrata set with the sitting harness still holds me. And now I complete the transition. When I complete the transition, what do? I put it here above in the opposite direction and I do a final check. And I completed now the anchor point transition. This here, it is called from there to above the anchor, it is called the anchor point transition. I completed the anchor point transition. And now I'm continuing. I get here to this point, and guess what? I'm disconnecting one, putting it above the anchor, and now I'm disconnecting the second, but again, this is connected here always, right? And I'm putting it in the opposite direction. And here we have it. I executed the anchor point transition. You see, I always try to extend my arms each time I'm pulling myself up. I'm not doing it this way. I'm here. Now I'm pushing with my legs out. I'm pushing with my legs out. So now I have a vector here made by my body. And now I'm pulling with the arms. This makes it way easier than doing it differently. I'm advancing. Good. The carabiners come after me. I don't have to grab them or do anything else. This is an easy one. Otherwise, you can do like this and carry them with you if you really want. And I continue. This is a Via Ferrata. You see, I'm already way too high to do the anchor point transition. I'm doing the anchor point transition. This is tedious. You have to do this hundreds of times on a Via Ferrata. As you can see, I'm not grabbing the safety steel cable. This allows me to grab it because it is German style. Being so tensioned, it allows me to grab it. So if I want to advance, I can also use the cable. Of course, this Via Ferrata is not built for that type of advancing on it, but if I really want, I can have a hand on the cable and a hand on the rung. Now I do the anchor point transition back again. Good, I do the anchor point transition back again. And now I continue. One very important thing, very important. These two lanyards here, these two carabiners, always connected to the safety steel cable. Always. Never, you should never connect it to the rung, for example, as in this case. Never do this, and definitely never do this, because this, if this breaks, you fall to the ground. So if this dislocates here from the wall, now you are falling to the ground. You should never put it there. They should always stay here. If you wanna rest, so if you wanna rest, you either now go back down. So now you go back down until the Via Ferrata set, the elasticated arms, fully extend. When you do this, look what happens. You put a lot of pressure here on the carabiners. This is unnecessary stress on the carabiners, and then you can bend them, and then on the shock absorber. I don't want to do that, and I also don't want to descend. I had to descend to be able to rest. But if I want to rest while I'm in this position, what do? You remember my resting system? I plug my resting system into this rung here. Now I'm sitting, this is relaxed, but still connected. The Via Ferrata set, always connected to the safety steel cable. I connected the resting as well to the rung. Why am I allowed? Let's suppose this dislocates from the wall. This will catch me. So I have redundancy. I can do this. I'm allowed to do this, to rest like this, because this is always connected here. This will always catch me if something happens. I'm resting. You see, because I have this resting system, I don't have to travel more. I connected the shorter length of it. I rested. What do now? I give slack to be able to disconnect it. I put it back. This is the utility loop. These are utility loops. They are not safety loops. They don't save your life. And I continue. So now what I will do is I will progress my climb of this Via Ferrata. I'm getting here a bit high. I should have done the anchor point transition before. I test. You see, I'm always testing. And now I continue. I pull myself on the safety steel cable a moment, and I keep doing this. I have other arm on the peg, and I'm progressing. Now this becomes an interesting vertical here. You see it goes quite upright. So let's together climb this one as well. This is a bit overhang. This pushes me on the back a lot. Look, if I'm coming here, it forces me to do this. If I do this, it is very hard for my upper body muscles because I have to keep myself here, this position. But what I can do here is an arm lock. Why? Short interruption. Did you spotted the error that I was making? It wasn't me testing you. I was focusing on some subject, on a topic, and I forgot to do that. Did you see it? Did you catch it? Pause the video and think for a moment. Did you catch it? I hope you did. I forgot to do the anchor point transition. You'll see in a moment me getting back down, me descending and doing it, and then feeling bad about it, having the remorse of forgetting to do that. It is normal human behavior. Error and human error is natural. We should always expect that. Hence, we are doing this build that reflects that habit. It is through repetition. It is through you respecting the rules and always trying your best to do it right. In this way, even if you consciously forget about it, unconsciously, you'll always do it. I made that mistake. Now, one clarification, I will do it later in the video as well, but to make sure I'm not throwing you off. The arm hook and then the elbow lock. What is this? Well, the arm hook is one concept, and that's that. But then the elbow lock and the forearm lock and the forearm hook and the elbow hook, they might get you confused. From above, when you go from above onto the safety steel cable or a rung, that one is a hook. When you go from the below, that one is a lock. If you go like this, it is a forearm or an elbow lock. If you go like this is a hook, an elbow or a forearm hook. If you go all the way down and you put the cable or the rung here under your arm, this is an arm hook, the whole arm. Arm hook or elbow or forearm hook, and then elbow or forearm lock. Let's continue. I know it is long. This video will be long, but it is, in my opinion, the best Via Ferrata beginner tutorial out there on internet. Let's continue watching. First of all, I forgot to change here. Let's go back. My mistake, because I was focusing. So let's do the transition. Sorry about this. It's my error. Now I'm doing the transition with the arm lock helping me on this overhang. If I don't do it this way, the alternative will be either from here and I have to stay fully extended like this and it's already heavy on my arms, or I have to come a step forward to put my left arm fully extended above. And now I do the transition. Let me tell you one thing. This was very hard. Doing it this way, it was hard. The arm lock helped me to do it without wasting any unnecessary energy. You preserve your upper body energy for overhangs. Let me give you a real example of arm hook. You see, I have my arm hugging the rung. I have an anchor point, the safety steel cable. I'm barely reaching with my hand, which means it's the right moment to do the anchor point transition. I'm pulling both and I'm taking one of them. And now I will clip it. I check it, it is clipped. Now I pull the second one and here I am. I anchor point transitioned by leveraging the arm hook. Tired or not, I committed a Via Ferrata fallacy. Did you spot it? The error that I made is not an error in the sense that I had my life in danger, but it is a fallacy because I'm trying to persuade you to do the anchor point transition in a certain way. and I didn't do it. I was tired, I didn't pay enough attention, I was enthusiastic or overwhelmed by the moment recording for you. Who knows what happened there? It happened. This is what is important. Did you spot the fallacy that I made while doing the anchor point transition? I hope you did. Now let's move to explaining properly the elbow or forearm hook and lock, and then again the arm lock. Stay with me. I'm trying to make it as short possible. Let's watch it. I forgot to clarify the fallacy that I committed. This is a brand new Via Ferrata set. In between, Camp released a new version. I never got to use it. I might give it away. Why not? Let's clarify the fallacy. What I'm advising you to do on Via Ferrata when you do the anchor point transition is to clip them in opposite direction, like this. This is the opposite direction. This is the same direction, and this is the opposite direction. What I did in the video, same direction. I committed a Via Ferrata fallacy. My bad, my mistake, but the question remains, did you spot it? I was speaking to you about the arm hook, and the arm hook is putting your arm like this and hooking the cable. This is the arm hook. Let me show it to you differently. This here, like this. You see, I'm hugging the cable with the arm, and now I'm hooking it. This is the arm hook. Then you might hear me saying the forearm hook. The forearm hook is as follows. I put it from above, you see, and I hook it like this. This is the forearm hook. Then the third one is the elbow lock. This one from below. This is locking with your elbow. It is also a forearm lock as well. So this can be called forearm lock or elbow lock. Then you have from above, this is forearm hook, and then this is arm hook. We've seen now what each one means and how it is done. Next, before we continue with other basic techniques to aid yourself on Via Ferrata, next I will show you a segment where I'm actually applying that for myself in real life on an extreme Via Ferrata level, a segment of a Via Ferrata where we have an overhang. To properly set myself into a resting position and execute the anchor point transition, I'm using the forearm or elbow lock. Let's watch that, and then we move to the next self-aiding technique on Via Ferrata. Now, with overhangs like this is how you do it. You clip yourself to the next right away. So now, give it a moment. I am clipped. You know why? So that I can transition out fast. Whew. This is difficult. You see, I'm right away clipping to the next. In case I lose control, to be able I'm tired. What is the point of hooks or the locks? The idea is to leverage physics instead of our muscle mass. Trying to use the muscle mass will get us tired fast. Leveraging physics, vectors and levers will help us save a lot of energy and in some cases get ourselves out of trouble or avoid unnecessary risk. Now you see it, you've seen how I'm applying it in real life for extreme elements of Via Ferrata. let's continue with more interesting self-aiding techniques on Via Ferrata. In Austria, there is a ladder that goes on the diagonal at high altitude, enough to get you scared properly. At a smaller scale, here in Bosnia-Herzegovina, we have this one here. It goes on the vertical. It is the same identical principle. So today we learn how to tackle this kind of bridge. I told you earlier that I recommend that you should have with you a resting system. The resting system is for resting, correct? Well, when you go through bridges like this, in case something happens and you drop, you might risk actually deploying the shock absorber. To avoid that, maybe you want to keep yourself as close to the ladder and make it impossible practically to drop in case you lose control. You might slip, you might have a tendency, if you slip, you might have a tendency to go through a gap. And if you do that, the shock absorber of a Via Ferrata set might deploy and you might end up 2-3 meters below the ladder. That one will make it extremely difficult to recover, will take a lot of effort. Now, how do you solve this exercise here, this bridge? Well, first of all, as you see on the left, I have one carabiner, one lanyard of a Via Ferrata set, and then on the other side I have the other one. In this way I have redundancy. If this cable breaks, I still have this one, so it's a double lifeline. Easy, no? Easy, good. Let's consider this case scenario. I have this approach shoes, they are not that stable. I would say they are not for Via Ferrata. If I slip and fall through this gap, the way I have now all this thing here, the fall might make the shock absorber deploy. And I might end up way too low below. To avoid that, I'm taking the smaller lanyard of a Y-shaped resting system that I'm using, and I will connect it here to one of them. It really doesn't matter to which one. Look how small this is. What, 40, 45, 50, let's say 50 centimeters. If I drop, this is a drop, I will have my hands on here, so I will aid my initial falling. By the time I release the grip of my hands, this will catch me already, and is not enough force to break something into the system. Again, on Via Ferrata, you should never on verticals go with this connected. Never, you should not do this. But on a bridge like this, if you want to stay safe and secure, then you can do it because the fall factor you are creating is relatively small. Still there, you will still take the hit in case you lose control, but it is way better to stop into something small like this than into something long like this. True that the Via Ferrata set will absorb most of the shock, but you might also end up way below the bridge. The debate here is always, will the static system break your back? This static here, even if small, will this break your back or your safety system, which is the belay loop of your Via Ferrata set? If it breaks the belay loop of your Via Ferrata set, you'll drop to the ground and die. So this is a question that has to be answered. If we do the math, it appears the fall factor is quite small. The shock you are taking and the shock the system takes from this height, I'm quite high above here on this bridge, and it's true that I'm creating fall factor. I should be way below, but I will say is not that bad. It can be employed here. What do we do? Well, we progress, nothing more. We just progress, and now I have to change them one by one. It's quite a lot of carabiners here to change, but we have to do it, right? So it is what I'm doing. I've changed now, I've made the transition, and I will continue. Of course, a question that has to be answered is, what if you slide down? Because if you slide down and lose control, then is the resting system that catches you. And if the resting system catches you on a slide like this, it's like falling. You have a big fall factor. True. But if you lose control and you slide, will you make it in time to get there before you fall in between one of the gaps? I don't know what to say. I presume it is a matter of chance, right? In here, as you can see, you don't have a Via Ferrata safety steel cable. You have only the bridge. What this means is your lifeline becomes the sides of a bridge. You have one side here, and then you have another side here. I put one carabiner here, so one is here, one is here. In this way, I have redundancy. If one part of a bridge gives up, the other one will hold me. Of course, on bridges like this, you have also these connection points. They will stop you in case that side drops, you will break somewhere here. So these bridges, what I'm trying to say is, are quite secure. One issue, one probability that can happen when crossing these bridges is you dropping, you slip, your feet will slip here, it is wet, or you don't pay attention, who knows what happens, and you fall into this gap here. Well, if you do that, there is a big chance that this shock absorber here will deploy. If that one deploys 1-2 meters, it will be impossible for you from almost 2 meters below the bridge to come back up. The effort to do that is huge. To avoid that, connect this smaller side of it. Now in here, this is the perfect case scenario of using it, because this is high enough for my belly, my below loop, to be below it. In case I fall, the maximum I will fall is this. This is the maximum, which is nothing. There is almost no slack. This is almost static, loss of control. In case I lose control and go through that gap there, then this one will catch me ahead of anything, and there is no force built up to damage me or the resting system in any way. And in this way, I always stay at the bridge level, never go below it. Remember, never on a Via Ferrata vertical section clip this as well. This, you can only clip it as now. You see, I'm on almost the horizontal. There is no force employed. If I fall again, there is almost no fall because this is almost tensioned. On vertical, never allowed. You should never connect this static lanyard on a vertical on the Via Ferrata. And also, the advice is never connect it also on the diagonals of Via Ferrata, because it is the same principle. We proceed to crossing the bridge. I will not clip this because I personally don't need it. In this way I move faster because I only have to change 2 carabiners. Let me show you how I'm making the anchor point transition. One hand, and then the same hand I do it here. I want to explain to you the dead zone of a segment of a Via Ferrata. What that means. In between anchors, this is an anchor here, and that there is another anchor. My advice is always, when you fully extend your arm and you reach the anchor, like now, do the anchor point transition. This is the first moment when you can do it. It is also the one that you have to take advantage of and do the anchor point transition. Why? Because if I travel higher, I increase the fall factor, and I don't want to do that. It is already high here. It is a meter, more than a meter, plus a meter here, 2 meters, plus a meter below the anchor. It is 3 meters divided by 1. It's a fall factor of 3 already. Imagine that. Because of this, you should do the anchor point transition as soon possible. This here is the right moment to do it. But to get myself to this point where I am now, in a very good stable resting position, which is recommended on Via Ferrata before you do the anchor point transition, you have to sit in a stable resting position to have control of that transition. To get myself here to the stage of making the transition, look how high I had to go above that cone there. Again, 1 meter plus 1 is 2 meters, 2 meters and a bit. I had no choice. To get to this point, I had to do that. This distance between my belay loop, this is my belay loop, between my belay loop, the line of my belay loop is here. The distance between here and the cone there, where we create a fall factor, it can be a meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, it depends on how high the next anchor it is. Based on that, this distance here created, I call it the dead zone of a segment of Via Ferrata. You cannot do anything there. If you fall, you could have not changed that outcome by making the anchor point transition, because it wasn't possible. You have to distance yourself from the below anchor, you want it or not. Now you create the dead zone, and then between the moment you distance yourself, you advance, and you get to the point where you can execute the anchor point transition, there is nothing you can do about other than to use the safety steel cable, for example, the rock, the pegs, the rungs, and so forth, right? No matter what, if you fall, it's not because you didn't do in time the anchor point transition. It is because you're in the dead zone of a segment. There is no anchor point transition that can be made. If I keep going without making the anchor point transition, so I'm here, and instead of making the anchor point transition, and I've seen many doing this, I make more steps, and actually I'm getting as high, and I say, oh, I will make the anchor point now. This is no longer the dead zone of Via Ferrata. This is being stupid on Via Ferrata. Does it make sense? Because you had enough time to do the anchor point transition before. Now it is 2.5 meters plus 1, 3.5 meters plus 1, 4.5 meters. Above 4 is the fall factor. That fast it grows. But now, above the dead zone, it is being stupid. It's not the dead zone of a segment of a Via Ferrata. Making the anchor point transition now, if I lose equilibrium, and it can happen, I will be in trouble big time. And not because there was nothing I can do about it, but because I'm stupid. It happens, sometimes I forget to do an anchor point transition. True, it happens to any one of us. It is hundreds and hundreds of transitions that we have to make, and sometimes it just happens. Sometimes it forces you to go above the anchor to be able to do the transition. You cannot make it earlier. That's true as well, but I hope you get the idea. We are lucky enough, we have here a bridge of this type, and I will show you how to cross it. This is another training exercise for you during this tutorial. We have our carabiners of the Via Ferrata set with the elasticated arms of the Via Ferrata set. We are already connected, but if we fall here, the shock absorber, this black thing here, might deploy. And if it deploys, we might end up way below this walk line here. And as you can see, it pushes me. I'm going quite a bit on my back, and there is a chance to lose the control, lose your equilibrium. The question is what to do. Well, the same, long or short, it really depends on your height, on the distance you have from the cable. I'm clipping this smaller static lanyard. Why am I doing it? Because let's suppose I'm falling. I'm simulating a fall now. Let's suppose I lost control. This is the maximum that can happen. I can always reach with my hand and get back. Without this, these are 120 centimeters long, I think, way longer than my arm when they fully extend. Would be very hard to get back. It is possible. There is a video on the channel how to get back on it from a meter and a half below the walk line, this one here. But to avoid that, again, I'm using my resting system, this static lanyard. In here, in this situation, I'm allowed to do it because there is no possibility for this to have enough slack to build pressure on the system in case I'm falling. This is what I will do, and now I can safely cross. What I'm doing to stay safe, because it's possible, is arm hooking. I put the arm above the safety steel cable and bring it close to my body. And now this is arm hook. You see, if I have a tendency to go on my right, the arm here hooking the cable will keep me there, because it's possible. In here, the height, for my height, the distance between the foot line and the lifeline, it is just right for me to do it like this. I'm pushing myself forward and I'm crossing this bridge here. Now this goes higher and higher. I can still leverage the safety system. Is not dragging me too much high. This was good for this case, but either way I have that other leg as well. In case I need, I switch. This is how you cross this type of bridges. There are different scenarios. If the lifeline is way above your head, you use a different tactic. Here are things you need to know, because the Via Ferrata is just one part of the whole exercise. It's not the whole thing. You have approach. Approaches in general are short, sweet and easy in general, but also you have either long and demanding or sufficiently long, so not that short, and demanding or extremely demanding. Never underestimate the approach. That one is one of the phases of Via Ferrata. You have approach, the climb, and then the exit. The exit, like now, I could not see the path. Eventually I converged into the path. It is marked. You have the red dot here, and then there is a yellow dot as well. But when I got out from the Via Ferrata, I didn't see it and I got lost. By chance, it happened that I converged with the path and then onto this road here. Pay attention to that. Exits can be extremely dangerous. Approaches, not necessarily. They can in some cases, but in general they are okay. Now it depends, because if it is a 2-3 hours approach, that one is long. You have to go prepared. You have to have with you more gear that is more efficient and able to cope with different situations, different environments. Changes completely the way you approach that. Then when it comes to the exit, two big dangers are the possibility of getting lost, and it can happen. And it might be that you'll not be able to recover from that and you'll have to call for help. Or even worse, you might end up on an exposed section without being aware that you are off track, off the descending track, and fall and die. When you go on Via Ferrata, make sure you have enough water with you. For example, now for this case, I had 2 liters of water. I almost finished them. Ideally, you'll have electrolytes, not just water. It is way better to have electrolytes, because otherwise the water, you drink it and nothing happens. It doesn't help you that much. But if you put in the water a bit of salt and a bit of sugar, then that one helps way more. Think about that. I'm alone, as you can see. Now, They don't have bears here, but in countries where you have bears, you have to be mindful of that and carry a bear spray with you, because otherwise you are exposing yourself. Also, being alone, as I am doing it solo, nobody around me, literally nobody, nothing. You have to be careful. If something happens, you break a leg, it's up to you to get out of a situation. Very important, on Via Ferrata, you are on your own all the time. Even if you go with friends, even if you are taken out by someone saying, I know Via Ferrata, or you hire a guide, the whole time you are on your own. The most they can do is either call for help, or if they are skilled enough and they have the right gear with them, they might get you out of a situation. Pay attention, they might not prevent the situation, they might get you out from it. What this means, it can be prevented up to a degree. This means being continuously belayed. Continuously belayed means you are connected to a lifeline controlled by the climber above you. And what that means is you don't fall at all. If something happens, you are always under control, controlled by, again, the person above you. But that never happens. Even when you hire a guide, it will not do that. The guide will only keep you company. And the idea of the guides is we show you where the Via Ferrata is, maybe we give you the gear for hire, and they keep you company. They show you the ropes, where to go, how to go, and so forth. But to actually complete the exercise, it is up to you, nobody else. You have to do the arm pulling, the leg pushing, you have to do the anchor point transitions, you have to make sure you are not falling, you have to deal with a fall if it happens. It is you. It is your responsibility. People naively stay oblivious, thinking, oh, I'm going with friends, I'm safe, secure. No, you are not. You'll be in good hands after the incident happens. Again, because they might call for help, or they might be able to take you out of that situation. But before that happening, it's up to you. It is your responsibility. Many go on Via Ferrata confident that I hired a guide, nothing can happen. Not true. You hired a guide to rent you the gear, to take you to the Via Ferrata, to keep you company on the Via Ferrata, to talk with you on the Via Ferrata, maybe, and to get you back to the car. That's it. Also, what a guide will do, because it is their responsibility, and either way, it is correct human behavior. If something happens to you, they will call for help, or they will intervene and try to get you out of that situation if they can. If they can. It's not guaranteed. You paying for a guide doesn't guarantee anything post-incident, because up to the incident itself happening, remember, it is up to you.